So in this lesson we're going to be learning long division. Okay, it's another way to find your roots or your zeros of any function. Okay, we'll start with a quadratic, a little easier. Now this is something you could just factor by itself, but I'm going to show you long division for this one. Okay, so we want to ask ourselves, we want to look at this piece here, x. How many times is x go into x squared is the question I want to ask myself. How many times is x go into x squared? Or x times what is x squared? X. So I'm going to put that x to the first power over the same side here. So x to the first power, x to the first power go on top of one another. So I'm going to multiply. So that's my first question. How many times is, or x times what is x squared? So now, if I take this, now I'm going to multiply. X times x is x squared, and then I'm going to multiply negative 1 times x is negative 1x or minus 1x. Okay, so I'm going to put this in parentheses, and I'm going to subtract just like you've done with long division always. Subtracting this, x squared minus x squared, this goes out to 0. Negative 10x minus negative 1x is going to be negative 9x. Okay, good. And then I'm going to bring down my positive 9. So negative 10x minus negative 1x becomes plus. Minus minus is a plus. Okay, and so now, same thing again. Just like I asked myself, x times what is x squared? I'm going to ask myself now, x times what is negative 9x? So x times negative 9 is going to give me negative 9x. So multiply this through again. So x times negative 9 is negative 9x. And negative 1 times negative 9 is plus 9. Again, parentheses, important, subtraction. Negative 9x minus negative 9x, 0. 9 minus 9, and I get 0. So when I divide x minus 1 into x squared minus 10x plus 9, the root, or the remaining factor, is x minus 9. Okay, so here I have, n minus 3 into n squared minus 5n plus 6. Okay, so again I'm going to ask myself, how many times is n going to n squared? N times what is n squared? N times n. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply both n and negative 3 by n. N times n, n squared. Negative 3 times n, negative 3n, parentheses, subtraction sign, because you're subtracting that quantity. All right? N squared minus n squared goes to 0. Negative 5n minus negative 3n. Same thing saying negative 5n plus 3n, which is negative 2n. And bring down my positive 6. Okay. N times what is negative 2n? Negative 2. So I'm going to distribute. So n times negative 2 is negative 2n. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Parentheses, subtraction. If you see they're both the same quantity here, nice and easy, this would also give me 0. So if I divide n minus 3 into n squared minus 5n plus 6, my answer here will be, or the other factor will be n minus 2. Okay, next one. The quantity a minus 6 divided into a squared minus 2a minus 24. A goes into a squared how many times? A times. A times a squared. Negative 6 times a, negative 6a, parentheses, subtraction sign. A squared minus a squared goes to 0. Negative 2a minus negative 6a, which is the same thing as saying negative 2a plus 6a, which is 4a minus 24, bringing down the negative 24. How many times does a go into 4a? 4, positive 4 times. So a times 4 is 4a. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Parentheses. Notice you have the same quantity minus each other. 4a minus 4a, negative 24 minus negative 24, and you get 0. So if a minus 6 goes into a squared minus 2a minus 24, your remaining factor is 8 plus 4. N plus 4, the quantity n plus 4 into 9n squared plus 39n plus 12. The only difference here is now I have a leading coefficient of 9 rather than 1. So n times what is 9n squared? N times what is 9n squared? 9n. So 9n. N times 9n, 9n squared. 4 times 9n is positive 36n. Parentheses, subtracting that quantity, subtraction sign. 9n squared minus 9n squared, that goes away. 39n minus 36n is 3n, bringing down my positive 12. N goes into 3n how many times? Positive 3 times. N times 3, 3n. 4 times 3, positive 12. Again, this works out nicely for us with a remainder of 0. 3n minus 3n is 0. 12 minus 12 is 0, and our remainder is 0. So the quantity n plus 4 goes into this quantity 9n plus 3 times. Okay, so now we're going to go with a cubic term. So now we have the quantity p plus 10 into 3p cubed plus 38p squared plus 74p minus 60. Same concept, okay? P goes into 3p cubed how many times? 3p squared. So 3p squared. Again, I'm putting a square over the square here. So p times 3p squared is 3p cubed. 10 times 3p squared is plus 30p squared. Parentheses, subtract. 3p cubed minus 3p cubed goes away to 0. 38p squared minus 30p squared is 8p squared. And then you can bring down your next term, plus 74p. You could bring down the negative 60 here if you want to, but I'm only going to bring down the 2 terms because these are the only 2 terms I'm going to work with next. Okay, it's your choice. Question again. P times what is 8p squared? So plus 8p. P times 8p, 8p squared. Positive 10 times 8p is positive 80p. Parentheses. Subtract. 8p squared minus 8p squared goes to 0. 74p minus 80p is good. Negative 6p. Bring down my negative 60. Almost there. P goes into negative 6p. How many times? Negative 6. Good. P times negative 6. Negative 6p. 10 times negative 6. Negative 60. Subtract. And you get down to 0. So p plus the quantity p plus 10 goes into this quantity here, 3p squared plus 8p minus 6. Now again, you could try to factor this as well, eventually when you're getting the roots. But for now, we're just going to use the long division, and we'll just stop there. We'll see some more in part 2.